Hey everyone, welcome back. For the last couple days, been shooting some videos, just kind of casual, unedited videos on the topic of anxiety, and sometimes even talking about it just kind of makes me anxious. But first video, just kind of talked about my own journey with anxiety and how it started early on. Actually, probably around age 6. It's probably when it started. It became full blown at 11 when my mom died from breast cancer. But those 5 years in between, I formed a pattern of becoming anxious. And then the second video talked about the importance of acknowledging our anxiety, so kind of accepting it in some way. Actually, I use the word to embrace your anxiety, which when you embrace it, one of the things I recommend you do is to kind of list what kind of things you're anxious about and to share with somebody else so that you don't feel like you're alone. In the last video, I talked about how anxiety often moves us into places of feeling really, really uncomfortable or uncertain, and how those places in our life are important. That it's often in those areas that we face a lot of discomfort that we actually grow from. If we strive to live life always in comfort, then we will grow stagnant for sure, and will not grow as a person. And so today I want to take just a couple minutes to talk about this idea that I talk about in my book of just really being stuck in a rut. And took that phrase kind of from a lot of the brain studies and neuroscience research I was doing, in that our brains would literally form a rut early on in life, that our experiences early on in life, in childhood, based on what we'd feel and how we decide to cope with that, would basically set a pattern or form a rut in our brain, so that when, for example, we experience feeling alone or not good enough, or like a failure, we just, without thinking about it, just quickly, we'd automatically cope in that way. Our brain would fire along that path. And so we do that early on in life, and think about all the years of practice we have doing that. So by the time we get into our adult years and then into our 30s and 40s, and we're married and we have kids, we often respond and react just like we would when we were a kid. We're essentially a kid at that point. And we haven't really understood why we do that, or haven't taken ownership of that, and haven't taken a sense of responsibility for what we feel and then the choices we make out of that. And this is important when it comes to anxiety, that because often anxiety sets on early on in our lives. Anxiety may be a part of our family history, which is I talk about in the book as well. We might have a mom or a dad who is anxious, and we kind of picked up on that anxiety. For me, for example, the pattern I realized as I did a lot of family of origin work was that when I was anxious or would get anxious, I would tend to withdraw or shut down. Or if I felt anxious, I would avoid anything to read out loud or to talk, because I would start to stutter, right? And so when I felt that, that would often drive me to those behaviors. But sometimes anxiety wasn't always a feeling, it was something I did. For example, if I felt like I didn't measure up to a certain standard or couldn't be perfect in certain ways, that would cause me to be anxious, and I would be anxious. And so becoming clear about like our history around anxiety and around our family of origin, how anxiety was present or not present, is really, really important. And people often talk about when they come into counseling, I don't want to go back and talk about my past or my family, but really understanding the environment that you were raised and shaped in is crucial. Man, it really helps you understand yourself better, helps you understand that things happen to you in life, so you're not crazy, man. There are good reasons why we do things that we do. And it helps us understand better our boundaries and who we are, so we can take ownership of those issues. And I see that all the time in couples I work with in marriage counseling. When they're able to understand how they were formed and shaped in their family of origin, they can begin to take responsibility for their feelings and their behavior rather than blame their spouse. And the same thing happens for anxiety. For you to better understand how you were formed and shaped with anxiety is really, really important. In fact, I was at a neuroscience workshop at SMU a few weeks ago, and this research out of South Africa was saying that a lot of the research outside of the womb, being born outside of the womb, which is actually really crucial to wiring the brain, but outside of that, he said the most crucial time of our life is 0 to 10 months. And then he kind of listed on other periods, 10 months to 2 years, 2 years to like 4, 4 to like 6, and then like 6 to 16. There are crucial periods, and they happen really early on. And so if we can better understand where anxiety kind of came about in our lives and the reasons for it, and maybe how it plays a role in our family system, is huge in helping us just understand anxiety as a whole and understanding how we can manage it better and how we can use it as an opportunity to grow in our lives. And so, one of the things you might want to do, just a simple exercise, is to think about some stories in your personal life. When did you first begin to recognize that you were anxious about things? And and what kind of things were you anxious about, maybe as a kid or as an adult? And maybe also going to think about, is there anybody in your life or your family history, was a mom or a dad or a sibling anxious as well? And when you were around them, did that cause you to become anxious? And you could be also thinking about when you do get anxious, what do you do? How do you cope with that? What kind of behavior would I see happening? Would people around you see happening? Or you could also think about when you start to do anxious things and I could see you becoming anxious, what feeling triggered that? Was it a feeling of, for example, being alone or not good enough or feeling powerless? So just kind of explore anxiety in your family history and in your life, and just maybe take some notes. And we'll expand from there, but I think it's a good place to start. And we'll continue talking more about anxiety over the next couple of weeks. So I hope you guys have a good day.